Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. I have a treat today, or what I consider to be a treat, because I thoroughly enjoyed this project. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed this project. Let's get into Mustard, Faith of a Mustard Seed. And we're going to get strictly into the music, only the music, and nothing else. So let's go ahead and just tear this right up. Track one, I like track one. I like that. It was different though. I don't know exactly what I expected from Mustard, but track one was different. Show Me the Way, featuring Kirk Franklin, a true blue gospel song as the intro, which I found interesting. I don't know what I'm going to. I don't know what I'm getting into when I put this album on. But a gospel song, it definitely intrigues me. It piques my interest for the rest of the project. Now I want to know what this project is finna be like, because that's interesting. And it's Kirk Franklin. I mean, come on. It works. I like the skit at the end as well. It lets me know that this was thought out. I really like that skit. Very Good Kid, Mad City-esque with the LA vibes, and then the skit at the end. So you can't lose with that either. Kirk Franklin is an interesting way to open up a pseudo rap style album, but it works. Shout out to Kirk. It's not any profanity or anything like that, so he's staying true to his target audience as well, and Mustard facilitates that. So track one was a decent way to open up this project. Now track two, Up Now, featuring Lil Yachty, Blue Bucks Clan, and 42 Dugg. Now the show starts. This lineup is interesting to say the least. Yachty, Blue Bucks Clan, and 42 Dugg isn't a combination I would have expected. It's not a combination that I would have requested, or a combination that I was particularly looking for. Now, Blue Bucks does what it always does. As a duo, their delivery is always top tier, and as individuals, their delivery is also top tier. Flow and cadence is one of their claims to fame. They know how to put words together in a way that always has a little bop to it. Yachty is a good addition as well, but I don't really know if these individuals work together well, but Mustard makes them work nonetheless. Doug's verse was definitely weak. He picked up at the end of his verse. He tried to give it a little bit more gas as he headed out, but it was weak. It was weak. Overall, his verse was weak. The beat was also good, but I heard better beats from Mustard. This track, in my opinion, I've heard better from every artist. I've heard better from Yachty. I've heard better from Blue Bucks. I've heard better from Doug. I've heard better from Mustard. It's mid by their own standards. By their own standards, it's mid. They've all done leagues and leagues and miles more than this particular track here. It's weak by their own standards. But I do like that he continued that skit style storytelling aspect at the end of this track as well. So I'm a fan of that. Now track 3, Pressured Up, featuring Vince Staples and Schoolboy Q. Track 3, Vince Staples is doing God's work. Vince Staples is doing God's work. It doesn't get more LA than a track like this. This is really that LA sound. And Vince nails it like he always does. I like this beat more than the previous two before it, as well as the hook. The hook on this is catchy as hell. This one got some serious bop to it. I'm not gonna lie. This one does have some serious bounce. And Schoolboy sneaks in. And who doesn't love Schoolboy? On the LA track, it doesn't get more LA than Schoolboy Q. It doesn't get more LA than Vince Staples. It doesn't get more LA than Mustard. So you can't lose. Now, it will ring out differently in the LA crowd because it's targeted more towards them, but it's gonna ring out regardless. It's gonna ring out regardless. And he continues that skit style storytelling, good kid, Mad City-esque type of play at the end of this track as well. So I like that. I'm a fan of that. It shows me that the album was thought out. It shows me that the album was cohesive. If you could continue to have storylines after your tracks, during your tracks, or before your tracks, these storylines have to connect, or at the very least be the same theme. And 3 tracks in, they all got storylines. They're all connecting. It's the faith of a mustard seed coming up in LA, coming up in the area that Mustard grew up in, and some of these other artists like Vince and Schoolboy grew up in, that know the area, that know the environment. And it's very good kid, Mad City-esque. I wouldn't say it's on the same echelon or ilk. That storytelling is different, but I do see some of that in this and a bit of that influence. I don't know if that's the LA style of doing things or if Kendrick patented that and Mustard adopted that, but I like it nonetheless. I'm a big fan of that. Now, track 4, One of Them Ones, featuring Quavo and Rob 49. The strip clubs will enjoy this. It's a good track. I don't think I'm the target audience for it. This is definitely for the ladies, and you need to have one for the ladies on a Mustard project. You gotta have one, and you can't say Mustard, you can't say Quavo, you can't say Rob 49 in the same sentence and expect that you're gonna get anything else. These are the hit boys when it comes to the club smashes, and you can't lose with that. I'm not the targeted audience, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this project and this particular track is going to do what it's supposed to do when it comes to track 4. So I give it credit nonetheless. I'm not mad at it. I'll run it back with the ladies in the function. Quavo comes in with the hook, which is to be expected. To have Quavo on a track and not have him do the hook would be foolish, to say the least. Not big on the hook either, but again, this track isn't targeted towards me. So I would say it's an overall good track, but it's just not targeted for me in particular, and that's fine. Now, track 5, which is Parking Lot, featuring Travis Scott. Now, this is my favorite beat so far. Definitely my favorite beat so far. At this point in the fucking project, track 5 easily eclipses the 4 before it, both in beat and subject matter, style, bounce, everything you can name. Track 5 does it better. Travis Scott is always a treat, and his sound blends very well with Mustard's production. Like, they match each other and they fit in well. Mustard's production on a heavy beat, and Travis Scott a heavyweight hit maker. So you know what's going to happen when you mix these two together. It's less of a question and more of a statement. We know what's going to happen. We know how this is going to go. Now, I would love to see this with maybe Future, but that's just me being greedy. There's no skit at the end of this one, and that disappointed me. I wanted no breaks in that storytelling. I wanted it from track 1 all the way to the end. I wanted him to keep that going. So I was disappointed in that. But easily the best song leading up to track 6. Track 5 eclipses the previous 4. Now, track 6, which is 7 of 7, or 7 to 7, right back with the skits, making up for the lack of one on track 6. This entire track, making up for the lack of one on track 5, this entire track is a skit. So I got what I requested. Granted, I still didn't want any skips in between, but he got right back to it. And I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth with that one. I'm just going to appreciate the skit and continue on. Now, track 7, a song from my mom with Ty Dolla $ign. The boy Ty Dolla $ign is back and he's working. And Charlie Wilson. Interesting. And they also got Masego in here. Interesting lineup once again. It feels like the project is taking a turning point with track 7. The beats, the production, it just shot up. The first 4 were a little weak. 5, it turned up. We took a deep breath with 6, and now 7, this Dolla $ign, Masego, Wilson track, it starts to go up even more. It's very beautifully produced, and it's strange in the sense that it lets you know that this is a producer's album, and it gives you that grab bag feel. Like you don't know what song you're gonna get when you play the next track on this Faith of a Mustard Seed album. From it to go to Travis Scott and him doing what Travis does to shoot over to this, it's a roller coaster ride, and I like that. I can't guess what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen, and that's the appeal with producer albums. The fact that it's a grab bag, but Mustard takes that trope and he digs a little deeper, because a lot of these are coming from different angles and they still fit in. The skits tie that well together. The skits make sure that regardless of the subject matter or how the song sounds, they all have a centralized theme. But these songs are different from each other, to say the least. They're very different. And track 7, it feels good. Charlie Wilson did his thing. Dolla $ign did his thing. Masego did his thing. They did their thing. I'll say that. They did their thing. Now we are on to track 8, Worth the Heartbreak, featuring Blast and A Boogie. This track has mainstream appeal. I feel like visuals for this particular track will push this track over the top. I had no real attachment to it though. It was a good R&B style track with a splash of A Boogie, but that splash is a big splash. I think Boogie is the better part of this track, and Blast did good, but if I had to critique it, and we're talking strictly music, only music and nothing else, I would turn the Blast down a little bit and make more space for Boogie. Boogie wasn't on here too long, and I found myself longing for a bit more of that because I like how he handled this particular track. And Blast did good on the hook, but quite frankly, that's all I want to hear from him on this particular track, and let Boogie dominate the rest. I gravitate towards this track more if Boogie has more time on it. But the beat on this is gorgeous. If I had to describe the beat in one word on Worth the Heartbreak, track 8, Faith of a Mustard Seed, I would say gorgeous. That is a gorgeous beat. Now track 9, Truth Is, featuring Roddy Ricch. Mustard and Roddy Ricch, self-explanatory. The chemistry between these two doesn't need any introduction. We know. We're fully aware of what they do together when they collab. And that puts this track easily in the top 3, top 2 conversation on the project so far. And when I first heard it, I was so confident in the ability of this track that I knew it was going to be top 3, top 5, no matter what. I feel it may even be interchangeable with number 1. And at this point, at track 9, I have Travis Scott's track as number 1. So at this point, I have track 5 as number 1. So 9 tracks in. And I feel like if you were to swap number 5 out for number 9 and say number 9 was number 1, don't lose me. Pay attention. Don't lose me. I wouldn't disagree with you. I'm really feeling the strings on this track too. At the tail end of this track, leading up to the skit, I don't know, man. Mustard's good at what he does, and his choice in instruments is interesting. It's almost as if he has a cheery disposition when he's making these beats. It's not that dark, super heavy 808 bash, which we love from producers like Metro with the heavy hits. It's more so cheery, and he can swap into the pop lane, into the gospel lane, into the R&B lane. It's a brighter sound, and I like the strings leading up to the end of this track. And then there's a skit. Again, very good Kid Mad City like, and I will never be disappointed with anything that resembles a project of that caliber. And for Mustard, Faith of a Mustard Seed, to even give me flashbacks of that, big ups to him. Now, track 10 has Ty Dolla $ign, Future, and Charlie Wilson comes back. Track 10 is Minds. The beat is great. Ty and Future went insane, and I've been craving more Ty and Future since I found out that they went so well together on the Vultures 2 project. I feel like every time I get the pecking order of this project together, another song comes and disrupts the order. This feels like it could also be in the conversation for the best track. And honestly, the fact that the best track on this project is not definitive speaks more to the project as a whole. The fact that you don't know which track, has the most number one appeal on it. That's a beautiful, beautiful problem to have. We're fighting over these tracks because we don't know which one is number one, and that's going to cause us to play all the tracks that we feel like are number one just to get a feel for which one is better than the other. So you can't lose. That's a problem that you want to have. Now, Charlie Wilson spins back. I wasn't expecting Charlie. I wasn't really, wanting Charlie. But he spins back to get him another one on this track. He says, nah, I need one on one of these smashes. Let me get on one of these hits. And it seems like it's been an upward trend ever since track 5. Travis was the beginning of the end with track 5. The project has been on a steady increase since then. So it was a slow start with tracks 1 through 4, but then it's smash after smash after smash after smash after smash. And this is definitely one of the beats that is more nasty from Mustard. I just said he had a cheery disposition, which I stick to, but this beat is gross. It's nasty. So he is also showing that, hey, I do have a deep bag. Don't box me in. And I love the outro skits. I'm going to keep saying it. The outro skits are getting me. I'm thoroughly enjoying them. And the outro skit on track 10 cues up the theme and the title for track 11, featuring Ella Mai and Roddy Ricch, One Bad Decision. The skit of track 10 fell right into line with track 11, so that shows you again that this project is cohesive and there is a theme here. Now I feel like Roddy Ricch and Ella Mai on a Mustard production is very, very safe. We know what Roddy Ricch and Mustard can do. We know what Mustard and Ella Mai can do. It's very safe. You can't lose with this. You just can't lose with this. Now, it does feel a bit more tailored to the ladies, but again, if you have a diverse palette, as you should, listening to a Mustard album, male or female, you will be able to enjoy this track. If you're listening to Mustard, you need to know what to expect, and that is expect anything. The beat drop is dope, and the beat itself is fire, but not as strong as some of the predecessors on this project. We're coming off of a few smashes, and this beat just can't hang with them, and that's fine. I don't think it has to, because when you're dealing with LMA, Roddy Ricch, and Mustard, the chemistry that they have is going to push any song over the top. So it could be in the conversation. I wouldn't put it top 5, but I wouldn't be mad if someone does. It depends. It's more tailored towards the ladies, so I would have to gauge their opinion on it before I give it a true blue ranking. No skit, which disappointed me. Definitely disappointed me. But the beat is not bad. The beat carries it out towards the end. I don't know if that was to make up for the skit. Maybe the beat, you really wanted people to hear that towards the end, Mr. Mustard. But get back on them skits in a major way. I'm a huge fan of those. Now, track 12, Yak's Prayer. Let's see how I feel about track 12, Yak's Prayer with Kodak Black. I mean, it's Yak. I had to pause and think of the best way to articulate my thoughts on this, because it's Yak. And it's good classic Yak. And I feel like Yak is criminally underrated. Kodak has been on projects with Kanye, projects with Kendrick. He has a bag on him, and I feel like he's overlooked. But it's a regular Kodak song. If you're a Kodak fan, you're going to love this a lot. I feel like you could have almost put this on Kodak's album. He says, I got mustard on the beat like a sandwich. It's almost as if this is my song, and Mustard is just helping me out. And that's just the energy that Yak brings. He knows who he is, and regardless of the public opinion, Yak knows that he's one of them ones. I could really see this on a Kodak project and take it off of Faith of a Mustard Seed and put it on, one of Yak's joints. And I think it would fit right in. But Mustard brings us right back with the continuation of the skit-based outros, showcasing his life in L.A. And I love the choice of keys on this track. This track is solid. Definitely not the best song here, but I'll be listening to it again simply because I enjoy Yak. And I'm a big fan of Mustard's selection on the instruments on these beats. I'm not hearing too many of the instruments in such prominence like Mustard does, and that's his staple. We know a Mustard beat when we hear it, and these are top to bottom true blue Mustard beats, and I enjoy them. And I really like the skit on that one. I really like the skit on that one. Life in LA, I'm feeling it with some of these skits. Even though they're not long, it's enough. Very Good Kid, Mad City-esque. And if you like strictly music and nothing but the music, like we do, strictly music, only music and nothing else, you're going to gravitate towards those skits because you're going to know what they resemble. Good Kid, Mad City. A diet version, let's not put it on the same ilk, but it does have a resemblance. I would say uncle and nephew style. Father and son. They go hand in hand. Big dog and a slightly less bigger dog. Now, track 11. That was Yak's Prayer. Hear me when I say this about track 12, Ghetto, featuring Young Thug and Little Durk. When I heard this track, I played it back multiple times, and I will be continuing to play it back multiple times. This track is going to be in my rotation for the next few months. First things first, free Young Thug. Now, the definitive list of which track is the best, the list of best to worst, is still up for debate if we're talking strictly music, only music, and nothing else like we tend to do. But if we're also talking strictly music, only music and nothing else, like we tend to do, we have to acknowledge that this song is probably the best song on here. And I know when I say that, it doesn't really hold water because I've had that conversation about at least 4 tracks on here. But if I can go back in time and erase all of that, I would give it to this track. This is my favorite song on the whole project, hands down, no question. It feels good to hear Dirk with this flow that he chose on this particular track. I love this Dirk flow when he gets in this bag. Young Thug absolutely lost his mind. And this track, he finally, I don't know, Mustard finally gave us what we were desperately needing with a Young Thug feature of this caliber, because we've been starved and deprived of Thug. And it feels like he practically fused with the beat. He got so deep in his bag, he was almost indistinguishable from the flow of the beat. It was just a marriage, a union between artist and production, and it just put this song so far over the top. So far over the top. I think this could have almost been a single. I think you can isolate this song and get major burn from it. It's Mustard, it's Dirk, it's Thug. It has the star power, and the song is insane. The song is insane. Track 13, Ghetto. Ghetto. On Monday, I'm ghetto. On Tuesday, I'm ghetto. On Wednesday, I'm ghetto. On Thursday, I'm rich. But I'm back to the ghetto. Young Thug, let him out. Please, we need more of this. Whatever this is between Mustard and Thug, give us a whole project of it. Give us a whole 8 to 10 songs, even an EP I'll take. Give us Mustard Thug straight through, because they got something here, and Dirk lost his mind. Dirk lost his mind. And I like that outro bass theme skit style. I've been saying that every time I see it. I give it props because it's a great way to do it. And they do it again. But they give it to Young Thug. They give it to Thug. The beat quiets down. They pull one of Thug's old interviews and they let him talk it out. And then, after he's done talking with the skits, which I love, he reiterates with the hook. Best song on the project to me. And if we want to go in definitively and have a real debate, which I'm prepared to do, I would say the only other song that can take away from this is maybe the one with Travis Scott. But if the definitive list is still up for debate, personally, I got Ghetto, track 13, from the top to the bottom. Now, track 14, Pray For Me. Pray For Me was interesting because it's Mustard. Mustard's talking on here. And I had to do a double take. I had to look at the track listing, which I usually don't do because I like to be surprised. But as I was at the end of the project, I said, hey, let me see what's going on here. And it was just Mustard. Mustard had something to say on this track, and he says it. And then he brings it full circle with a gospel-style instrumental, which shows once again that this album was thought out and cohesive, and the bars and subject matter are there as well. And for it to be the longest song on the track, which is bold, because Mustard's not an artist. He is an artist, but not in a conventional sense. He took the longest song on the whole track. That's a bold move, and I like that. The bars and subject matter are there, and it tells me that this album means a little more to Mustard than I thought. Or at the very least, he had a message he wasn't prepared to give entirely over to interpretation. So why not clear a space for yourself to speak? That's a bold move, and it further sets Mustard apart from conventional producers. I actually listened and felt this track. It felt like a graduation song. It was almost bittersweet. Mustard showed a bit of storytelling ability on this project, and that just drives the nail in the coffin for me. He finishes with "Until next time," very movie-like, very at the end of the movie when they pan out, and the gospel carries us all the way out. And I listened to it all the way through to the last second. I even let the instrumental play out all the way until it was over. Big ups to Mustard on this project. Mustard, Faith of a Mustard Seed, strictly music, only music and nothing else. Go get that. Big ups to Mustard.